all of you. Okay. So we'll go to Sarah Franklin and Justin. Justin disappeared. But Sarah Franklin for the county tourism update.
Sure. Doug, would you like to approve the minutes first?
Oh, yes. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from January? Ted and Steve. Well, that's going to be hard. All in favor? Perfect. All right. There you go, Sarah. Now you can start.
Wonderful. Well, before I get started on the economic development and tourism update for this evening, I'd like to make an introduction. This evening, we have joined with us Justin Diaz, who is the Manager of Economic Development and Tourism, while Meredith Forget is off on maternity leave. So I'll give him a few minutes to introduce himself. Justin?
Great, thanks. Can everyone hear me? Excellent. Great. Well, yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight, along with Sarah. I know she's going to do the bulk of the heavy lifting in terms of delivering the update, but I wanted to have the opportunity to introduce myself to this committee, as I have to a number of other committees across Perth County over the last number of days. So just a little bit about myself. I do come to Perth County from the consulting world, was working as an economic development consultant for MDB Insight, which is Canada's largest economic development consulting firm. Previously had been with a Director of Economic Development for the Municipality of North Middlesex in Middlesex County, and have previous experience working in economic development at the County of Elgin. So I've been involved in economic development in Southwestern Ontario for quite a while now, and looking forward to the next 14 months, as Sarah mentioned, while Meredith is off on her maternity leave, filling in the role of Economic Development Manager and Tourism Manager, and working with you folks to get some good work done over these challenging times that we're in. So I'll let Sarah carry on with the update, and again, appreciate the time this evening to be with you.
Great, thanks, Justin. So I'll take you through a little bit of what we've been up to. We've actually been up to a fair bit since our last meeting. Certainly with the pandemic hitting, we've had to make a major pivot into our work plan. So what you see before you in the report reflects a number of different initiatives, and I'm going to talk about a few more that have occurred since that was developed. So when we started off under the pandemic circumstances, we needed to understand how this was impacting businesses. So one of the first things we did was a business impact survey, and we ended up launching 2 different phases of this survey. And you'll see in some of the summarized results that the pandemic really shifted everybody's focus, and businesses were feeling a lot of stress during this time. The encouraging part of the results from the survey were that over the course of the pandemic, as new support programs were released, we saw evidence that our business community was taking advantage of them. And while still not ideal circumstances, we had a lot of businesses that were accessing the supports and feeling good about the supports that were out there. One thing I should also mention is that our survey was used as a template for other regional surveys in Southwestern Ontario. Perth County was one of the first to launch their survey to reach out to their business community. Moving from there, we've done a number of different other initiatives, and you can see visuals of that included in the report. We had our 19 Days in 19 Ways campaign, a Spotlight on Business and Meet the Owner campaign, as well as our Perth County Bingo Challenge, some Zoom meeting backgrounds, photo contests, as well as a number of video programs such as our How To From Home video series and our Perth County, or Proudly Perth County video series, as well as a Support Local video. And I'll include links to all of these in the minutes for you so you can have them. But everything's available on our website. We've also had the opportunity to do some direct outreach to businesses. So we've done this in a number of different ways through our Perth County Local Love campaign by circulating some promotional items that businesses could use to help access some promotional material and help to drive business to their doors. We also distributed Perth County Cares PPE kits for businesses, especially in this time when doors are starting to reopen and there's a lot of anxiety amongst businesses. We wanted to make sure that they were prepared with at least a little bit of PPE to get them started. So that was well received. And just today, we've launched our Chalk It Up campaign, which has been really exciting to see some businesses already getting out on the sidewalks in our communities, sharing messages of encouragement and trying to drive traffic and positive messages outside their business doors. Another initiative that I've been involved in is the Perth County podcast. This has been a really exciting way to share information. I'm sure many of you have realized and felt during the pandemic that information is coming very quickly and it can be very hard to digest. So we wanted to provide a new avenue through which we could communicate with the business community. So we developed the Perth County podcast, where we're, at least in this first season, focusing on interviews with service providers, government representatives, and other best practices to share with our business community so that they can learn a little bit about a program in a really easy, quick, digestible format. The episodes are not long, so it gives you a chance to hear what a program or an organization is all about and determine if it's something you want to engage with. And then we provide you information to seek out more. So we've recorded 4 episodes so far. They're released weekly. We've got a few more in the bank to release over the coming weeks. So I'd encourage you to take a listen to this podcast. We have it on our website at perthcounty.ca/podcast, or you can do the search in your favorite podcast app to find and listen to our episodes, and make sure you click subscribe too. In addition to that initiative, we're also continuing to attend virtual job fairs. We had planned to attend quite a number of job fairs outside the region as part of our recruitment efforts, promoting the job opportunities on Opportunity Lives Here. Of course, the in-person events have largely been completely canceled or postponed, but many of the organizations that were offering those opportunities are allowing participation through virtual job fairs. So I had the opportunity to participate in our first virtual job fair in London, which went really well. It was an interesting and unique experience. So we are planning to continue to attend these job fairs in the surrounding areas, as well as toward Toronto in the GTA, which is where we've done a lot of recruitment efforts in the past. And the interesting part of that is we can gain some stats from our interactions with folks. And we plan to continue spreading the message that opportunity lives here in Perth County. And we recognize that, particularly as businesses are reopening and things are ramping up over time, businesses will still continue to hire. So we feel that that's a really important thing for us to continue over the pandemic period and as we move into recovery. Another item that I would typically be circulating to you in person would be our spring newsletter, which launched a while back, but is available on our website. We will be doing a call for content for the summer edition. So if you have any good news stories or things you'd like to share from West Perth, feel free to reach out to me. I don't necessarily need a fully formed article, but if you want to send me an idea, I'm happy to do the investigation in writing for our upcoming summer edition. So please send an email my way. Another couple of items, we have some sections on our website that we've devoted specifically to businesses during the pandemic. We've got some resources available on our doing business section, as well as we've collaborated and collected a number of different training opportunities that are free and virtual for businesses to take advantage of. So those are all living on our website as well. Another component of our program that's taken a major change has been our tourism program. So one of the aspects of that was to celebrate Tourism Week. And during that time, we actually mailed out 35,000 brochures within Perth County and the surrounding area, encouraging people to come and visit us when it's safe to do so, and plan a staycation in the surrounding area when businesses are reopening. We've also done a few other video initiatives. I know Ashley, our tourism officer, has been quite busy with those, and we're continuing to promote businesses as they gradually open and encouraging people to visit and spend their money there in safe ways when it's available. Another item that's not included in the report, but I thought was worth mentioning, we launched this week a social media guidebook for businesses. It's also available on our website. We recognize that social media quickly became an important tool during this pandemic, and a lot of businesses were using that to update about hours and operations. And we recognize that businesses have a lot on their plates under regular times, but thought maybe a guide would be of value to help businesses seek out some free resources like Shopify for e-commerce, or some design tools like Canva to bring their social media game up a little bit and help them to communicate quickly and effectively to their customers. Just looking here at my notes, we've also been promoting some business information lines and other information through the government. There's again been a lot of updates about programs, as well as rules and regulations around social distancing and the stages of opening. So we're attempting to communicate that through our social media and other channels. I'm just going to lean on Justin here. Am I missing anything from our current initiatives that you'd like to mention, Justin?
I think you've done a really good job of highlighting a lot of what we've been doing. I think one of the things that I would like to also mention would be an agricultural roundtable that we recently had with the Minister of Agriculture, Ernie Hardeman, and the local MPP, Randy Pettipies. It was a great opportunity for industry associations and elected officials to speak directly to the minister about support for the agriculture sector, which we know is vitally important to our area, as well as communicate, some of the issues that they're facing, and advocate for some programming and grants and other opportunities of funding for them to aid with their recovery. So that was just a really great opportunity to speak directly to the minister and share that information. I don't think there's anything else beyond that, Sarah. I guess one of the things I would like to mention is, just having joined and having a look at the work plan and a lot of the activities that we've had to put on hold because we just can't, do business tours and that kind of thing. We are constantly looking at our work plan on a weekly basis to see if there's things that we can, reinitiate as we enter different phases of recovery. But one of the key considerations we really want to keep front and center is we know businesses are extremely challenged. They're trying to recoup for months of lost revenue. They're trying to deal with the new barriers to being open with all the physical distancing and other requirements. So we want to make sure that we can try to get back to some of that economic development programming as usual, but not burden our businesses with any, make it easy for them to be participating. Because we know they've got their handful and they're dealing with the new realities and all those added hoops and things they've got to jump through. So we don't want to be putting any more hoops for them to jump through. We want to be being attentive, listening, and reinstating some of our programming as businesses are ready for us to do so. So thanks again for that update, Sarah. And I don't know if you had anything else to add or.
Yeah, I do have another item that I want to raise, but before I move on, does anyone have any questions for myself or Justin about the programming we've been delivering since our last meeting? Okay, seeing none, I'll plan to move on. One other item that I wanted to bring to your attention that I'm sure you're all aware of was that in late April, we received news that the Continental Tire plant in Mitchell is now scheduled to close. I wanted to let you know that economic development staff did reach out immediately and directly to Continental to offer support and assistance as the plant transitions its operations and its workforce. So just for your information, I'm sure many of you have read the details, but I thought I'd reiterate it here in case any of you hadn't heard. So the manufacturing component will phase out actually at the end of the first quarter in 2021 in Mitchell, but the R&D center will continue to operate until the end of 2021. When I inquired with the company regarding the departure, they indicated that there had just been a decline in their sales in the vibration control products that they specialize in from that location. I did ask if the pandemic had had an extra impact on that. They seem to cite issues that had occurred prior to the pandemic. So this was something, a decision that was informed largely from their sales. When the plant does fully close, there will be 151 employees who will be moved on to other work, and they are planning to support those employees through transitions. I believe they've already reached out to Employment Ontario offices in the area, and my understanding is that they're well supported in that initiative. I did offer our information. They have our contacts if there's anything we can do to be of support of this. And we have been in regular contact with the plant regarding the actual physical location and understanding how we can help to market that to future potential industries for Mitchell. So I just wanted to update you on that information. I'm sure some of that is already stuff you knew, but I thought it would be worthwhile for discussion here as well. And that's it for me. I can't hear you, Doug, if you're trying to say something. I see your lips moving.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It doesn't seem to work right. So we lost Steve. Welcome somewhere on the train.
Okay.
So I'm good now, yeah. But I mean, Steve's gone. So when Jeff comes on, I think he's going to split the screen. You're going to see his slides and that in the middle, so we'll all be smaller at the side. So are you ready? I'll try to shut something off here. So we'll have the county or the West Perth rep now. Oh.
So,
No, not good.
turn off F1. Okay.
Not good?
Yeah, we'll be good now. Everyone, just want to make sure people can hear me good enough. Is there a thumbs up for that? Can you see the thumbs up there, Doug? Yep, good, thanks. All right, I'm going to run through the slides here of, so you'll notice a couple things about today's meeting. We're going to try to be more disciplined in the future about issuing the presentations or the reports with the agendas in advance. That's the way we do council, and that's the way clerks really like committees to be run. But I've always, it hasn't really worked out, and I should actually share my screen so you can see me, but I can't see. Oh, well, I can't find me to show. You don't get to see my picture because I don't know how to fix that right now. Maybe Justine, you can do that. So you get to see this talking head. I need a haircut, I know. So we'll try to work, in the future that we send those agendas out in advance, as I said. So now, I want to run through this presentation, and I got a couple quick ones to add at the end. But first of all, I wanted to mention that when I can find how to page down, come on. All right.
Steve will be back in a minute. His computer went down.
Steve just had a temporary malfunction. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about just operations of the municipality. And I think that I have to emphasize that we like to try to say that it's business as usual, but certainly none of this has been business as usual. And I hope any of you that are citizens or residents of West Perth might be kind of wondering what's happening with our municipal operations, but we're doing our best. We are trying to maintain services and operations with very little impact on the service we put out the door. Of course, our office has been closed, and we have a bit of a plan for reopening, but we're not there yet. We are waiving interest and penalties for those that need it. So for commercial and residential taxpayers, if the messaging we've essentially been putting out there is that if you're having a struggle with your taxes and your interim payments up and you can't make it, we are having those folks talk to the treasurer and come up with a plan. We're not charging the penalty and we're not charging the interest. We're backdating that till March the 16th when council passed that resolution. But we're also sharing the message as well that if you can pay it, you want to keep ahead, because obviously we'll eventually come out of COVID and we want to help people to kind of make their choices that they don't get behind on their taxes either. So we're going to work with people to make that work. We've had a huge amount of support from the team at economic development in tourism. I have to give a shout out to Meredith, and Meredith, as many of you know, is now off on maternity leave, and that hasn't kept everybody involved in the committee from attending today. So that's another shout out to Selena. But in any event, for Meredith and now Justin and Sarah and the team, we've had a tremendous amount of support. And I want to say that that really allowed us as a local municipality to focus on the operational issues, and because we knew there were major economic, this is an economic disaster in a lot of ways, and we knew that there were major economic considerations that we just had covered by the county. And so we certainly want to receive local input and do what we can locally, but we've had great help from the county. I want to mention that we've really worked hard to try to keep our projects going. Our projects, because they were in our budget and they were planned, we see it as important to have them go, also because they're economic drivers to local activity. And we also have a workforce that we were doing our best to keep employed. We weren't able to keep everyone employed because of the nature of services that had to be stopped or at least terminated for a short period of time. And so some of the library staff and things like that, we've had some layoffs, but for the most part, we've tried to keep the services going with the adjustments that we've made. And you'll see we've done the fire hall and the bridge and a few others, and I'll mention those in my update. We are working on an operational recovery plan, and we hope to bring that to council on July 6th. We actually hope to bring it on June 15th, but there were a couple of major things came up with the phase 2 reopening, and it changed everything. So we just set that plan aside. We dealt with the kind of immediate needs of changing policy and getting options in front of council. And now we're back to trying to put everything in a plan, because the idea of the overall plan is that we want to be able to fit together. When do we open the municipal office again? How does that phase in work? We certainly see the first step being a full opening on an appointment basis. And then we want to get to the point where people can walk up to the door and push it and walk through. We have to actually make some physical changes in the office before we get to that point. And we see ourselves being probably 2 to 3 weeks at least out to get to that point. But in the meantime, I think you'll see us promoting more, making appointments by email and setting that up. And of course, our current challenge, and the one that really sidetracked us last week, was major change in operations on how it affected our recreation and our parks and our pool and our splash pad. We had been anticipating that announcement, but the very widespread consensus was that there would be no opening until right around the long weekend. So when the province dropped out the geographical opening and on the Monday announced that things would open on the Friday, that caught all the municipalities that were in phase 2 off guard. So and I want to emphasize, and to the business leaders that are on this call, that it's not business as normal from a policy perspective, and the responsibility of us as a staff, a professional staff giving advice to council, is to protect the health and safety of the community and make decisions that protect that health and safety, and also protect the liability position of the municipality. And I want, it has to be said that we're really working on making sure we've got our eye on all those things. The landfill was a very big issue. And I think some people wonder why you don't just run the landfill. It seemed fairly straightforward, but we had a number of operational and technical reasons why we did what we did. And we also ran curbside pickup that whole time. So some of these, we realize that our citizens don't want to be severely impacted, and we won't be. I frankly think not having access to the landfill is a classic first world problem, but I also understand that it's a service that our community wants to have access to, and we are really trying to adapt, keep things safe, and make those choices as we go, but also protecting the liability of the municipality and the staff and the community from health and safety perspective. So I'm going to quickly, that's my biggest update. I do have a few projects I'd like to just mention. We had a sidewalk patio and cafe bylaw that was actually pretty good. It hasn't been that widespread of use over the years, but we made modifications to that bylaw at council this week to waive some of the fees and the deposits, and to try to we had restrictions in that bylaw, for example, that if anyone wanted to open a cafe or a patio, all of the umbrellas that they used, them all had to be black, for example. And so we waived those kinds of requirements given the circumstances. That's kind of an ideal scenario in a very robust economic situation. But given the situation that we're in, we waived that. And so we're expecting that there's going to be a bit of uptake on this bylaw. We've got a nice wide sidewalk, and we're hoping that we can support those businesses. I do want to mention that the idea of migrating onto the parking spaces on the street is very difficult for West Perth or for Mitchell, specifically because of the connecting link and the Ontario traffic manual. So we certainly want to keep it on the sidewalk, and it also presents major accessibility complications that are difficult to overcome. So other municipalities have that option. We feel that we don't. Next, I want to mention some of our big capital projects. The Henry Street Bridge is underway, and that picture from, I believe it was March, there was still some snow on the ground. There's a picture here from a couple weeks ago in May, the decks poured. We're on schedule with that project. There'll be people taking the shortcut to the golf course before this year's golf season ends, we hope. We're hoping we're on that kind of schedule. It's going to be tight, but it certainly should be ready to go in the fall, and this will change traffic movements in the town of Mitchell and in the community of West Perth. Our West Perth Fire Hall project is underway. We were able to continue with this project because of the way the structural restrictions for projects went and essential projects. This project started on May 1st, even though there were a number of projects that weren't able to go at that time. We've made very good progress on this project. Anyone who's been by, this is what the site will look like from the Wellington Street frontage. The colors have been finalized, and and we've worked in the clock tower, and that's actually a hose tower, but that we're having a sign prepared. The general contractor's having a sign prepared, and you'll see this picture go on that sign in the next few weeks. We're working on our tennis court project. We had the fire hall and the tennis court projects traveling together through our approval process. In our tender process, we closed the tender on the one and closed the tender on the other. The tennis court closed shortly after the fire hall. And I just want to say that where we got into a bit of trouble is that we got the fire hall project approved on March 2nd, which things were still fairly normal, signed the contract, but by March 16th, the tender closed for the tennis courts and all operations changed as a result of COVID. So the tennis court project got out of step with the fire hall project. We of course had a signed contract with the contractor, which we signed on March 2nd, and therefore had to follow through with fire hall construction. And frankly, the needs for an upgraded fire hall are very high, and we had to proceed with that project. We are trying to work to get the tennis court project back on track, and I anticipate that council will make a decision on the tennis courts, whether they're going to do them or not, at the July 6th council meeting. They did come in over budget, and as many of you will be aware, we have some negotiations with the Mitchell Tennis Club that we thought we had covered, but evidently they weren't satisfied. So we have to work with that group and see if we can work this out in an amenable way, and we're working on that between now and July 6th. But on July 6th, we have to make a decision, or we're going to lose the contractor or the construction year or both. The Safina Family Foods Pavilion in Lions Park is complete. This photo was taken on the last day before they got the roof finished. The one bit of finishing that needs to be done there yet is the topsoil. The final topsoil spread is on. It was delivered today. The contractor intends to spread that this week. It was a funny spring for getting grass to catch, and their grass didn't catch very well, but they also had a lot of topsoil. The chair of the committee is maybe thinking maybe that they didn't buy the grass seed in the right spot. Could have been. Yeah, his grass seed all worked. Yeah. I want to mention the Earth Power electrical vehicle charging station project. This project we applied for. We talked to economic development about it, and economic development made it clear, as did BIA and council, that there was a desire to go for a downtown area site. We've been working with Earth, and we've actually, the grant was approved. Between Earth and ourselves, we've identified a couple of sites that we can't make work. So we're actually back to the site selection table, but we're still really on that move of, we likely won't get it onto Huron Road, but I think we want to get it onto either Quebec Street or Montreal Street, and obviously with good signage. It's just a matter of getting it set up where the charging unit and the sidewalk and the spaces that we can allocate and the need for power, we have to get those stars to line up. So that's what we're working on with that project, but it has been approved and we want to get it done. Some good news that's happened since the onset of COVID-19 is that we've been working away on the Heron Business Park. We are working on the design of a stormwater management pond at the east end, and I'll show you an overall picture in a moment that shows you where that pond would go. And we were approached by Hogslat Incorporated. This is their first Canadian outlet. They offered to buy 4.78 acres. This is a 4.78, or we could have sold up to 5 acres. This is a parcel that we can sell in advance of having the stormwater installed, and we can actually get the sanitary to it without the pumping station being built. But this is the last one we have to sell. So frankly, the municipality has no remaining land in inventory. We want to get on with stormwater design, and we want to get on with getting servicing in, and that's a project we have to make a priority, but there's some design work to be done. And I'll just mention before I leave this slide that Hogslat bought that strip that runs from Frank Street through to Herbert Street. It has Water Street or East Street, whichever you prefer to call it. It's officially Water Street to its west. And if you've been by there, they've slapped up a building. They have some servicing to install yet. And they intend to have a retail outlet on the front end. And they intend to do assembly of their equipment in the back site. And then they'll have outdoor fenced in storage. They won't be using the full 5 acres right away, or 4.7 acres right away, but they'll be coming up with a plan for how they use their storage. And just on the Heron Business Park, can everyone see the hand? Can I get a thumbs up? Yeah, good. So the Heron Business Park is 59 acres, and the parcel I'm talking about is the parcel that I'm outlining here. This is the parcel just a little bit narrower that was sold to Hogslat. Now, the remainder of this land, the rest of this 10 acres that was formerly Durasol, the rest of the 24 acres that West Perth purchased in 2011, and the 25 acres south of Frank Street that West Perth purchased in 2018 or early 19, one or the other. This land, we are working on the servicing plan for this land. The decision was made to call this the Heron Business Park, and this street, which we are in the short term calling Street 1, would then be called Stacy Street when we build it. The servicing for this area would see a stormwater pumping station go in where the hand is, and we would be able to service this property to the east of us that's currently owned by Cargill Limited. And Cargill Limited's land is zoned as agriculturally related commercial industrial, which allows a nice broad range of uses, provided they have some connection to agriculture. And in this community, that connection is easily made. So we, at this point in time, we are working with Cargill informally to do our design. We will then be working with Cargill to see if we can get them to transfer the land for this stormwater pond back to the municipality of West Perth, along with an easement across their land for an outlet. And then we would proceed with our development, and they could proceed to either do a development on their land or whatever, but they would have full sanitary, storm, and water servicing with one access point here, and we would have full sanitary and water servicing for our land with some small lots created in a road with numerous access points. So that's the overall servicing strategy for this area. Sarah and Meredith and myself worked on a number of leads over the winter, and there was certainly a lot of interest in West Perth, and we were very transparent with everyone we spoke to about our servicing timing. And of course, we're dealing with some complications from COVID, but this project, we want to get it online and feel that it will be a great benefit to West Perth. And I want to talk about residential development. So this map was provided in advance, and you may want to come back and look at this map a few times to see just where the projects I mentioned are. One thing that has been the closest thing to business as normal that I can refer to through COVID-19 has been building activity. So our development in building activity has actually continued pretty well. Our building permits have not dropped year over year, and our building permit value. Pools are up, which is perhaps a sign of the times. And but other than that, that's gone well. And I wanted to give this little update for economic development because I think there's a clear understanding with this group that there is a direct connection between the availability of housing stock in our community to the economic well-being of the community and the businesses that operate here. And so we've got strong building activity. We've got a number of applications. I'll just say a few words about each of them that have been active. The Avco apartment development on St. David Street is still tied up in the local planning appeal tribunal process. That was identified as number 10 on the map. There's really no update on that. We've supported this development with our council and our planning, but we are all at the mercy of an appeal hearing date, which I think, needless to say, is very frustrating for the developer, but it is what it is. The zoning amendment for the Wimpole Street North project by Truebuilt Developments, and this is Wimpole Street South is out in the west end of town, actually near the Ace Hardware. Wimpole Street North is the unbuilt part of that street, going north up and connecting to the golf course. Truebuilt Homes owns that. They have a proposal for a number of fourplexes with bookended by semi-detached on both ends. There was an appeal to their zoning, and that appeal has been dropped, and the formality of getting that dropped, I believe, is completed. So we anticipate applications from Truebuilt Homes for their proposal in the near future. The servicing has been installed for Bob Scott's Arthur Street development at the east end of town. So the extension of Henry Street heading east into that land, coming off of Arthur Street. That's number 6 on the map that I provided. We're currently processing a model home permit and anticipate seeing full-on permit activity for that site over the next few months. Great news for Mitchell. The Upper Thames Village project is underway, and I think you can direct questions on that one to one of the residents of that community who's on the call. That's number one on the site. It's a lovely condominium development, which provides a really nice housing choice for the community. The Eleanor Street project, which is number 9 on the map, is, I believe it's 8, if not 9 units. That similar walk-in style where the entrance to the units is at the same level as the garage, so there's no step. They are substantially complete, and I think a couple of them are occupied. Yeah, at least 3 are occupied, and another very nice addition to housing stock in our community, and some real innovation that this community, I think, will greatly benefit from. And certainly, we're delighted with the willingness of developers to try new things here, and I think that this market can really use it. The next one I want to mention is Blue Heron Village, and I'm actually just wondering now if I put the right name on that, but it's the condominium development proposed for 230 Ontario Street, which is directly across from Tim Hortons. The work that's been done on that project in the last number of months is the municipality actually took the lead on the project to bore the services under Huron Road. That part of the work has been done. There hasn't been a lot of other progress on that site, and it remains to be seen when that'll get going, but the approval processes are largely in place, and it's just a matter of the start, I believe. And then finally, I want to mention a new one, is the corner of Henry Street and St. George Street, or Highway 23 South. Most people around here would say the land across from the beer store, which is the perfect milestone, or the perfect landmark to identify people from. That parcel has been vacant for a number of years. There was environmental work completed on it, and the developer is anticipating receiving a record of I've lost the correct name. It's a record of site condition, I think, or something like that, which is required in order to be able to proceed with that development. The environmentals have been done, and it's anticipated that that will be received. That allows the site to be developed for residential. I'll be very blunt that the municipality would actually encourage some commercial on the corner of Henry and St. George, because with the construction of the bridge, that intersection takes on a different land use capability. However, we are at the, in this case, because of the existing designation, it's designated residential, because it was always thought that that would be residential development. And, you know, we can't certainly say, you know, we've got it on our long-term plans that this will be residential. And we really, all we can do is encourage the consideration of commercial. That application is coming forward, and it is coming forward as residential. And we anticipate a public meeting for that application in the months to come. All right, and let's move on to the next slide. Finally, I think near finally, I want to mention that Ritz is continuing on their plan for the redevelopment of West Perth Village. The municipality has made a pledge towards this project. It's number 7 on your program, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the design scheme. Ritz has their site plan approval. We're working with Ritz on their plans to try to get this project in the ground. Of course, at a management and administration level, their organization is very busy right now managing COVID. I also think, though, that as a community, and first of all, they deserve a lot of credit for not having an outbreak at the site at Ritz or the nursing home site across the river. But I think that the class of beds that we have are certainly at high risk for outbreaks if they should occur. And I think it emphasizes the importance of this 128-bed long-term care facility for our community. And more work to be done with this to get final approvals in place and to get everything in place for the shovel to hit the ground. But the municipality is continuing to support it and hope that they can get it away. So just before I open it to questions, Doug, I just want to mention two quick things. Today, there was an announcement from Randy Pettipiece's office, and I'm going to just throw the press release up on the screen I'm sharing. So Pettipiece's office announced today that the proposals have been let for SWIFT, which is the Southwest Integrated Fiber. What does the T stand for? I've just lost it for a moment. Technology project. This is why I have other people in the room with me. That $5.5 million request for proposals will come out. The way that this will work operationally is that we will anticipate the RFPs going out and different providers, which have been pre-approved, and you will see the typical providers. I think you'll see, I haven't gone to look at the SWIFT list, but I believe Mornington and Whiteman and Quadro for sure would be on that list. You'll see them putting together proposals which would allow for the optimization of that money to be spent in Perth County to maximize the amount of fiber that we can get. And it's really last mile type fiber. So $5.5 million is not going to do it. I think everyone understands that, and any proposal that comes forward is going to really need to look to optimize. In the case of West Perth, the community has been quite disciplined over the years about development is mostly on the concession roads rather than the side roads, although there are some exceptions. And the positive thing about that is that SWIFT fiber technology delivery on the concession roads, focusing on the concession roads theoretically means that you have less fiber to lay. Of course, there are exceptions, especially on county roads. And of course, the other thing that's going to drive this is getting technology to hamlets and villages that will give you the most bang for your buck. But, and of course, Mitchell is kind of in the mix with some fiber and some not fiber, but we're obviously going to keep working away at getting that. So this is a bit of a game changer as far as an announcement goes. We've been hopeful that this would come out, and today's the day. So, and then the last, I've got one other one I want to mention that since the last time we've met, West Perth supported an application for natural gas through Enbridge to be extended to Moncton. That proposal was supported by North Perth as well. Enbridge has selected that as one of their projects that they've submitted. And I believe the submission was actually made. So we're waiting to hear if that project would get funded, but that also would be a great economic benefit to our community if we could get natural gas extended to Moncton. And Mr. Chair, that's it for me. I'll turn off my speaker.
I have a question for you, Jeff.
Justine, are you? Oh, Steve, you're what? Oh,
Hello?
Justine, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh my God.
Can't hear you, Doug.
Can you hear me now? No, Steve can't. I don't know. I've got muted off.
Okay, we'll come back to my speaker.
Doug,
do you
I
wanna
can
ask
hear
your
Doug,
question?
but
Just
very
ask it nice and
quietly.
loud.
Can you hear me through his? Well, does anybody have any questions for Jeff?
I have some questions for Jeff.
Turn your mic on, Steve.
How?
There you go.
What's that?
Push your F1.
You got it now.
Okay. With Jeff's report about the patios for downtown, is the municipality doing anything to help people out with the pigeon problems? I'm thinking the Sugar Maple, if they want to put patios out, it's great, but there's nothing but pigeons up above them.
Sure. I'm going to answer from here if that's okay with you. I just have giving a bit of feedback. Okay, so I'll answer through here. So first time I've heard of it, Steve. I didn't know that there was a problem, and obviously, if we have that kind of an issue, I'm really going off the top of my head here. Probably the business is going to have to figure out how they deal with it, because obviously pigeon problems are an age-old problem for urban communities, but we'll have to take a look at it and see what we can do.
Because all you got to do is walk down that sidewalk and you see all the pigeon crap on the sidewalk. They're always up above there. So anyhow, my second question, Jeff, when you're giving your building update there's something in there about Blaze development you never touched on.
Well, it's beside me.
My apologies, I did
Yeah.
jump over it.
Yeah.
So the Blaze property is 23 lots, 26 semi-detached, or 46 units. So 23 lots, but they'll all be divided in two eventually.
Okay.
So Mike Vole out of Kitchener has owned that property for many years, but Mr. Vole is divesting himself of his assets. The development is draft approved. In fact, there's a subdivision agreement. The parkland credits have been paid, and the subdivision has been transferred to the ownership of a development company from Guelph. And they're a very reputable development company, so they'll be a great addition to West Perth. And we anticipate that they will be servicing and building in there within the year.
Okay, and that's the property beside you, Doug, is it?
Yeah, they start on Clayton Street, I believe, is phase one.
Okay.
And there's 3 phases in there. Clayton Street would be first, and then Kenton Street around to it.
Okay, thank you.
So I will mention, Steve, just for information, that they'll create a loop where they'll go around and come back around Clayton Street. And at which point in time, there's a piece of street there that the municipality won't need anymore, but we won't be doing anything with that until that loop is created. But, and we also expect that they may service and do it in a single phase rather than the first 20 units or 18 units and then the balance. So I think you're going to see those semi-detached units hit the market.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Now, Justine, are you there?
Am. So let me just share my screen here. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to present the West Perth Residents Welcome Package. So this document has been developed to help answer new residents' questions about programs and services that are provided by the municipality. As we all know, moving to a new place can be overwhelming, and by creating this package, we're hoping to make the move a little easier. The intention for this is to be a living document that's regularly updated to reflect any changes to West Perth services and programs. For this reason, the idea is that we're going to keep a small number of printed documents on hand and then print more as required. The document is also going to be available on our website, and we'd be able to share it as a PDF through emails with residents as well. For the website and for the PDF versions, there's links available through the document to the various web pages, as well as online forms for easy access. So this document has the potential to be useful not just for residents, but also for real estate agents selling properties within West Perth, and it can be adopted for business purposes as well. So I just want to provide a quick overview of the document. So as you can see, the first page here is the cover, and it just features some images of West Perth. The second page is a table of contents, and this provides our contact information and includes our website as well as our social media channels. And then each of the following pages just outlines our different services, programs, and amenities available to West Perth residents. So the first one talks about our municipal council and the makeup of it and how residents can stay up to date on municipal news and notices. The next page is animal control and bylaw enforcement, and this includes information on how to report things like bylaw infractions. The next page is property taxes, and this outlines different payment options. We have water and wastewater services. Then we have a garbage recycling and landfill page, and this includes information on ordering newer replacement bins and also how to report missed collections, which are frequent questions that we receive. We outline our business services. We outline our recreation and facilities, including our programs, amenities, and rentals that we have available. We have a section highlighting our parks and trails and the different outdoor spaces that are available in West Perth. We have a section devoted to our library, its programs, online programs, and its operation hours. It outlines our emergency services, and the last page is a contact page for municipal staff and other community services. And that's about all I have.
Jeff's going to stand behind me and add.
This is the easiest way to do it. Can you all hear me? As you got the buttons pushed?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this obviously is targeted for our residential community, and certainly a lot of the transactions occur also commercial. So we'll likely come up with like a commercial or a business version of this, and it'll complement. And then again, Justin and Sarah are still on the line. The county does a really good economic development profile for the community that we use to promote West Perth to businesses. But this ability to have the kind of operational part about once you're here, how does it work? How does garbage work? And all those questions. That's what this document provides. And so it's all about providing service and getting people the information that they need. So Justine's done a lot of work to make that piece come together. So I wanted her to present it.
Michelle?
Can I just ask, you know, when someone new moves into town and they call the municipality to set up their water and order their waste bins, is there any way the municipality can get their email address and shoot the doc to them in a PDF to make sure that they do get a copy of it and not rely on other people to give them one?
Yeah, so the idea of us proactively finding out who they are and sending it. So I think that's a great idea. And even if we can find out when, you know, we'll instruct our staff at the front desk when we get this together that as soon as we get a call, we will get them the whole package because they get bits and pieces of it, right? And then I know the real estate agents end up doing work for us.
Well, I'm just thinking because you have to call to set up for your water. So you have to call the municipality regardless to set up for your water. And obviously you should be advised to get your waste bins. So there's two sort of phone calls and they kind of go to the same department or office that they would be able to ascertain. Are you new to the area? Would you give me your email address? We have a really helpful PDF we can send to you.
Yeah, and Michelle, is there any potential to work with the real estate community when a deal like that closes? Like, do you give an information package at all?
I beg your pardon, sorry?
Do you give an information package out at all to new home buyers?
I do. So the pamphlet that you printed out many years ago about West Perth with the map and sort of the highlights of that and a Perth County map, I usually give new in town people that. Other than that, there's not an awful lot. So I've done up my own sort of little sheet. But something like this, I think would be a huge, huge benefit.
So if we made copies of them, what would be the best way to get them out to potential agents that would like, would we do that through the real estate board?
I don't know that the real estate board would handle that, to be quite frank, but you could reach out to the brokerages.
Yeah.
Each brokerage has access to all of their members. They could email out a PDF or at least send a letter out to the brokerages to pass on to their agents. So quite frankly, there's probably a handful of agents that will be working in West Perth. So you're not looking at hundreds of these. You might be looking at 50 at the most. But I think, yes, I would reach out to the brokerages.
Okay, very good. Great advice. Thank you very much. And Justine and I'll take that back and talk to Carla about it. Any other questions?
No, so our most favorite part is general discussion. So I'll see the screen in a different way than you do. I'm going to start in my top left and ask if you have any. Ted's in my top, whatever this is left. Ted, do you have any questions or anything? Nathan? Paul? Michelle? Your mic's still on.
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay, Corley?
Not a question, but a comment. So having had my staff working for the most part from home since the middle of March, the announcement about the internet is welcome, because that, without a question, has been the biggest impediment, not just in the office, it's still a problem here, but huge impediment to working from home.
It's everywhere, because we have a county councilor down in Southeast Stoke. And when we have our county council meeting tomorrow, you can hear him about half the time and see him a quarter of the time. So he actually has to have his phone going too, so that he can be on the phone and the internet. So that's Swift last mile. The fire trucks are leaving or something. So, okay, thank you. Selena, congratulations on having a baby a month ago. Christina, oh, maybe left. Good.
What is the holdup with the tennis courts? Like, there's been a couple articles in the Advocate about how they're insisting it needs to go at the golf course, and I've been so confused because that's not municipal property at all, is it?
See Jeff jumping up to this? No, it's not. It's I don't know how you say it, be politically correct. It's they want certain things, and our taxpayer dollars of our council, we want certain things, and it has to be on municipal property, obviously. It can't be, they couldn't build it at the back of my store either. Yeah. So we have to, that's why we have a 3 weeks, we're working through that where it should be.
But they, they had no logical grounding for this then? It's all pie in the sky?
So I'll answer that question, and obviously I'm not gonna share a lot of details, because now that, you know, there was a sort of suggestion that we may have to talk to a lawyer, there's nothing we can do but react like it is a lawyer conversation. So we are I think that the thing I would say to anyone, council, the media, or anyone, is that we felt we had an understanding about where we were going to put it and what we were going to build and how it was going to work. That understanding appears to have broken down over the winter, and certainly has been aggravated by the fact that the fire hall project started and it got separated from the tennis court project because of the timing of the tender closing and the COVID shutdown. And so I'm going to just say that my position as a staff person, and council still has to make their decisions. We as staff advise. My opinion as a staff person, and my recommendation to council, is going to be that we go ahead, we build tennis courts that are multi-use courts. They also serve pickleball, and we provide exclusive access for a certain number of days per week to the tennis club, but that we retain access for the community on other days. My recommendation is we proceed to do that. And that's what we agreed to do last fall. And the Veterans Park site was selected by council in November of 2019. So I can say that here. It's on the books as a resolution from council. It's not negotiable, in my opinion. So.
I have an unrelated question. I was aware of a motion that was put before council because one of my friends asked help in writing it. And she was approached by a member of the community who is not on council, who started talking to her about the proposal. And I wondered, are council meetings and the minutes open immediately, or is that a case of somebody talking out of turn? Because it really caught her by surprise that something that no decision was made on yet was suddenly public knowledge?
So I guess there's a couple parts to this answer. The choice of the location and
Oh, I'm not talking about the tennis courts at all.
general. Okay.
So it would be just like this. If you were sitting listening to our council, you could be sitting listening to our council meeting, as you could be right now, and interpret. But everything that would be said would be in public.
Yeah.
Like if someone put a motion.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure if all council meetings were open in that way.
Yeah, you can go on. Somebody could do. I can't see the number. There's probably nobody watching on a council meeting. You can see down in the corner if there's 21 people watching it. You click on the screen and there's only 13 people. There's 7 people that are watching the council meeting, listening to the council meeting. They don't get their picture up. They don't participate. But it's an open public meeting that they can listen, as long as they interpret what's said the proper way.
Okay, that's fair. I'll let her know that that's how it works then.
Yep.
And I'd just like to add, Christina, that a couple of things, and that is that, in COVID, I mean, normally pre-COVID, these doors are open and anyone can come in. And of course, the challenge today is that we want to have our meetings public, but we also have to control. And so we're broadcasting to YouTube with that 20-second delay or whatever. It is very important to note that I would say 95% of our council business is done in public session, and it's very strictly regulated by the Municipal Act. But there are certain items that council can do in private session, and they're very strictly regulated. So they're matters of legal, contract negotiations with employees, identifiable individual, or trade secrets. Those are the kind of exceptions where the municipal council can go into closed session and deal with. And we have very little closed session business, but if we have a matter that involves a staff, a personnel issue, or if we have a legal getting advice from our solicitor, we'll go into closed session, and then we'll report out that there was a discussion in closed session. But that's the only thing that's not public.
Okay, that's good to know.
And then I have Steve down in the bottom corner.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, so the only thing I can think of is I thank Mark Moore just on my behalf, but he put all the small business names up. I don't know if you've been through the drive-through. Used to rotate that for the BIA. Now they made a new bracket and everybody's name who's a small business is along the drive-through. I just one day I was driving through it and I sent him a text and he sent me the smiley face back. So, but I don't really have anything. I think the municipality is working well in what we have. We're getting the pool and the splash pad open, long debate. But I think we're trying to get back to normal, but by the time we do, summer will be over. Like it's going to go really quick, I think, the next 2 months. And then, so we'll talk then. So we have our next thing is the proposed schedule meetings, which would be the 16th, and Jeff has here in council chambers. So I would hope too that by September, we can sit around the table, or if we have to be in the big room next door or the auditorium, we've got lots of room, right? That we can set tables up, because I still think it's far better interaction if you're sitting there, you know, if you're talking and you stuff like that. Just me personally. Then he has November 18th as a meeting, and then the breakfast on the 25th. So that's what we'll have to watch on the 16th. We would have generally about 100 people there. So the next step, I think, in phase 3 would be 50. We'd have to get the phase 4, but we can't do anything about that till we get closer to it. So we'll set kind of the 16th of September will be our night. We'll have a pretty good idea, I think, what we're going to be able to do in November. It doesn't, luckily, we don't have to put a ton of money out to have our breakfast. We with 2 months notice, we can either get a caterer or we can say, well, we can't do it this year. Is there anything else, Jeff? Anyone on the screen? So that's, what time is it? 7:30. That's not bad. If nobody has anything else, we'll call Steve for a motion to adjourn. Steve, seconded by Michelle. All in favor?